Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Yunita. I am from class 5H2. Okay, I will presentation about discourses analysis and English language teaching. Just go ahead. To understand this topic, we need to learn. Number one is the concept of English language teaching, and the next is the relationship between discourses analysis and English language teaching. The concept of English language teaching, to understand the definition of teaching English, then we must first understand the definition of teaching. Why? Paul Hurt 1975 became clear about teaching is a matter, especially because how teacher understand teaching very much affects what they actually do in the classroom. What is teaching? Two ways at least can be used to know the definition of teaching. Number one is spiritual way. This way refers to the way of knowing definition using stored definition of some time in a computer, especially over a network. Using this way means to use definition from online dictionaries. Number two is ritual way. This refers to the way of understanding definition by observing an edge of teaching containing a series of acts regularly repeated in a classroom. Using this way means to observe what host teacher do in teaching, then to draw out this an activity done, and finally to create an interpretation of the duties and the activity to vividly describe the means of teaching. Okay, virtual way defines teaching. Impart knowledge to our instructor, someone as to how to do something. The work that a teacher does in helping students to learn, and the age or profession of a person who imparts knowledge or skill. Things we can learn from the definition, there are at least two things. Number one is teaching is imparting knowledge or skills. Number two, helping students to learn. Using the two things, the definition of teaching may be formulated this way. Teaching is to help students to learn something by imparting knowledge or skill. Ritual way defines teaching. If we observe how a teacher generally teach, we will find three main stages. Number one, pre-teaching or planning. Two, while teaching, implementing. And three, post-teaching, evaluating. What is pre-teaching? Pre-teaching refers to things that teacher do before imparting knowledge to a group of students. Planning of teaching. Planning means to make a set of decisions about what to do and how to do something. Therefore, in pre-teaching, a teacher is usually required to plan two things. Number one, planning for what to teach, teaching materials. Number two, planning for how to teach, teaching methods. What teachers should do in pre-teaching to identify what to teach, to success in identity in what to teach. The teacher attempts to determine the type of teaching material that will be used in the classroom. Some scholars, e.g. Bro 1995, Richards 2001, Tomlinson 2007, Yasti and Kaharudin 2015. Strongly suggest teacher to do a needs analysis. Needs analysis is important to know the type of teaching materials suitable for a particular group of students. Formulated learning goals and objectives after the type of learning material are identity. Prepare and squeeze the materials that will be asked to achieve to learning objective and create this syllabus and lesson plans. What teachers should do in pre-teaching? To identify how to teach, knowing how to teach refers to the process of identity. The most effective method used for teaching the pre-exciting selected materials. The identification is made by conduction and situation analysis. Situation analysis means the student situation in terms of learning style and learning preferences. The identification of the student learning style and preference are used as the basic for determining type of method, the activity, and teaching used in the classroom. Therefore, the outcomes of pre-teaching are syllabus, lesson plans, and teaching material where we can find information on what to do teach and how to teach. What is while teaching? While teaching refers to things that teacher do when imparting knowledge to a group of students. In while teaching, the teacher primary goal is to impart knowledge or skill to the learners through explicit instruction by reference to items in the lesson plans such as the time allotment, teaching activities, or teaching methodology, starting a lesson, part presenting a lesson, and ending a lesson. Supplementary material, a textbox, handouts, and extra classwork. Those items are wrapped up in something what Summit 2016 has called as teacher method, while consists of teacher charted 5 methods and student charted methods. When a teacher implements one of the method, the implementation indicates his teaching method. So, what is teaching method? Teaching method is defined as the principle as for interaction which may cover decisions on teacher while in giving lesson, how to encourage student participant in the classroom active, and how to select and use teaching instruments. The choice of teaching method to be used certainly depends on teaching goals and objective, time allotment, and skill that is being taught up to the teaching performance as well as student learning style and preference. What is post-teaching? Post-teaching refers to things that teacher do after doing the process of imparting knowledge to a group of students. Evaluating teaching. Evaluating means to make a judgment on the effectiveness of teaching. Became effective in the context means the teaching is successful in production and intended result according to the stipulated course's objective. For the reason, this step is a lesson known as evaluation step, in which teacher need to ensure how much of the given material are mastered by the student, how well students are learning the material, and how we students are meeting the state goals and objective. Tests are the most common instruments used to evaluate teaching. Knowing the phase, what is teaching then? Teaching is then defined as the process of imparting knowledge or skill to a group of students by applying three main steps: planning the teaching, giving instruction in teaching, and evaluating the teaching outcomes. More specifically, Smith 2016 defines teaching as the process of attending to people's need expression and feelings and making specific interpretations to help them learn particular things. Attending to people's needs, experience, and feeling refer to pre-teaching where the teacher are required to determine their teaching material on the basis of needs analysis and situation analysis. Uh, make, Making specific intervention reference to the teacher teaching method, which consists of teacher way in giving lesson according student participant in the classroom using teaching instrument to support effective teaching, and learning particular things reference to the process of measuring if the learning outcomes achieve the course's objective evaluation. Finally, what is English language teaching? If the native of teaching is then brought into the area of teaching English, then English language teaching can be interpreted as the process of imparting skill and knowledge of English to a group of students whose first language is not English through the implementation of three main stages: A. Pre-teaching or planning, while teaching or giving instruction, as well as post-teaching, measuring learning outcomes. The relationship between discourse analysis and English language teaching. To understand this subtopic, we need to learn these two things: the trend in English language teaching, theoretical perspective, and the trend of English language teaching in Indonesia, factual perspective. The trend in English language teaching, theoretical perspective. If MA 2010, most English teachers tend to teach their student English in isolation, which is as a result the knowledge of context is lacking, and when it is time to effective the things they have learned in the classroom in real life interaction, the student encounter difficulties to ask the language social appropriate and find it difficult to recognize the function of the utterances by the native speakers of English. What can we learn from the theory? We learned that many English learners could speak grammatical correct English, but while in speaking naturally intelligible English, situation frequently generalities, pragmatic difficulties to understand each other due to natural English, which make their interlocutor uncomfortable. The trend of English language teaching in Indonesia. Factual perspective. In Indonesia, many students of English encounter some problems as stated in the theory. This happens because the student receive many inputs of English from, but less in English function. Teaching English through drilling the rules of grammar and memorizing vocabulary has been the teaching orientation of many English teachers in Indonesia. What to do to deal with the phase to shift the teacher orientation in teaching from textual grammatical to contextual functional. A series of effort needs to be done. It can be start from suggestion the teacher of English to study discourses analysis, because discourses analysis is able to provide information on how native English speakers use English to interact and communicate it in their real social life. From this, they are expected to start thinking about teaching contextual, functional English to complement teaching the textual grammatical English. The function between both teaching orientation is expected to able to make Indonesia learning of English success in both mastering English components, e.g., grammar and vocabulary, and using the components to communicate it appropriately and natural. As Smith MA 2010 states that in order to be successful in language teaching and learning, discourses of language has to be studied carefully by the teacher and the student, in which language form and function should not be kept apart in the classroom. Language form should not be used in illustration with this function. What is the relationship for the reason from the perspective of the reader's independent argument? Discourses analysis and English language teaching are found to be tightly connected and inseparable. It is officially seen from an identification to the discourses analysis as signifies language and language enable discourses analysis. Language is one method of communication message, while discourses analysis can be used as a tool to disclose message being communicated. In a nutshell, the relationship between discourses analysis and language is symbiotic, one in which one will not excite with the other. Okay, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.